My mind is really not my own anymore. It is consumed with everything that I've had to go through. And it's strange because the things that I did in my childhood, my teenage years, my 20s, they never bothered me. They really never bothered me. I just thought they were all completely normal. And then it was like all of a sudden I woke up and realized that no, none of it was normal. Nothing was normal. The last 2 years I have spent basically hiding away in my bed because oh God, trying to deal with it is just so difficult. Trying to figure out why why did everything happen? There's my mom, okay, there's that one. And that's a really good one. Jesus Christ. She stopped speaking to me nearly 10 years ago now. She's never given me a reason why. So I can only assume it was because Marty and I went and got married in my dad's house in South Carolina. And I know that would have pissed her off no ends. But she never asked me why I did that. And there are several reasons why I did it. Number one, there was no way on God's green earth I was going to ever get married in Northern Ireland. I was too ill and too much pain, and I needed to be in warm weather to do it. As anyone will know, nothing like that is guaranteed here, ever. Um, the second reason I did it was because the day of Kathy's wedding, I witnessed my mother so ill that she basically didn't even enjoy her day. She had to leave the wedding to go home and take medication. And I thought that was genuinely sad. When I thought about it again, I realized that for my entire life, well, no, not my entire life, from the day that we arrived in this godforsaken fucking island, I became my mother's carer, and her migraines were so extreme that I took her to hospitals. I rang ambulances for her. I phoned doctors. I begged doctors for help for her. I begged anybody I could phone for help for her. And it was tough. You don't expect to be, 12, 13 years old and do that. I had two sisters, one 4 years older than me and one 2 years younger than me, and they were completely oblivious to this. I would, she would give me her bank card every week and give me her PIN number, and I would go and do shopping at Stewart's down the road, and they would know me by sight if the shopping, her bank card at that time was only £50, and if the shopping became more than £50, they knew me, and they were like, it's okay, she comes in here every week to do this for her mummy, so that's okay. That was my norm. That was my life. I cut the grass, I made the dinners, I did the shopping, I cleaned the house, and that was my norm. And I thought that was normal for everybody. She would have said I was a seriously rebellious teenager. Well, let's go back a little bit. Before we left South Africa, we were supposed to all go to America. And my dad had given us this amazing view of life and what we were all going to go and do, and how our lives were going to change. And, this was going to be this most amazing thing. And to a 12-year-old, oh my good God, this was just like something you would see in the movies. And then 4 months before we left, my mother and him had an enormous argument. To which the next day we were then informed that no, we were no longer going to the States, we were going to Northern Ireland. And, let's just be real here for a wee second. This was the 80s. Who in the fucking world wants to go to Northern Ireland in the 80s when everybody's trying to blow each other up? So here we arrive. And I remember, and this was really awful. Well, actually, this was the second of two awful things that happened that day. As the plane approached the airport, there was these... Now, bear in mind, when you're in South Africa, the skies go on forever. I mean, they're skies like you'll never see in your life. The blue skies forever. When we arrived in Northern Ireland, there was these grey skies that literally hit the pavement. And I remember thinking, what the absolute fucking hell am I doing here? This is so grim. However, let's back up sort of an hour earlier. Our flight from South Africa to London was, suppose, my dad's last chance at, I'm giving you all I can give you, and here we go. So we travelled first class upstairs in a British Airways jet. And we were taken to the cockpit, and, we were given everything you could possibly imagine. I actually remember we were given caviar. And, obviously at 12 years old, Jesus Christ, caviar. Ugh. But anyway, you're doing your best. So... that flight then landed in London. And it's ridiculous that this was 1985 and yet it's 2019 and I still remember how I felt. We all got off the plane and we all walked down the terminal, and at the end of the terminal we all said this, like this cheery goodbye, like it was nothing. And my dad walked off to the left and we walked off to the right. And literally, that was the way our family split apart for good. Now, my dad is no angel. But that was the most harrowing experience ever. So then we got on this shitty flight to Northern Ireland and experienced the clouds. And I knew that very minute that I didn't want to be here. So we were greeted by my aunt and taken to this poxy little house in Harmony Hill. And it was so tiny. I'd never lived in a house so tiny. And I had to share a bedroom. Well, I think I basically had a tantrum to have the main bedroom, but I had to give it up if my dad ever came over, which obviously wasn't very often. Every time I tried to make friends, my mother was having none of it. There was a time a boy who wanted to get to know me better, called Billy, put a note through the front door. And I was so excited because I could make a friend, because at this point I hadn't actually started school. And I wasn't even allowed to read the note. And my mother then banned me from going out and seeing anybody. So after a few months, we got our house in Green Park off the Belsize Road. And, it's like a new house and you're excited and, that's something new. But then when you try and make friends, bearing in mind, living in South Africa, we ran around like wild kids. I mean, we were able to go anywhere, do anything, whatever we wanted, and all of a sudden, being here, there was these strange restrictions on us, and this unbelievable judgment of who I tried to make friends with. And I mean, there were only people who lived around the corner from me. So, I mean, you think, your mom has placed you in a good area. So, I mean, you're thinking that obviously people who live around the corner from you aren't bad people either, because, she's obviously put you there for a reason. But that was not the case. I couldn't do anything fucking right. We it was only a couple of months after we arrived, and then my birthday was in September the 13th, obviously, and I don't remember it being anything significant whatsoever. It was the month after that became super significant. I had made friends with people from Milltown who lived just up the road from me. And I'm very honest. I'm very accepting of anybody I knew. Bear in mind, this was a brand new country. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's even to this day, this baffles me that this became such a huge issue. However, if I don't say this now, I honestly don't feel like I'm ever going to be able to get it straight in my head. That October, I had previously met several of the teenagers, the same, well, they were slightly older than me from Milltop, excuse me. Um, and one of them knew somebody called Stephen Brown. Stephen Brown was 26, but um, he seemed to have this friendship with all the teenagers, and there never seemed to be a big deal about it. And I never really thought of his age in any way, shape, or form. He was just another human being, and I'm like I said, I'm very accepting, and I didn't think I was in danger. I didn't think there was a problem. Um, his nickname was Flory, so Stephen Flory Brown. Um, and when I first met him, he would hang out with us. He would take me to the Traveller's Rest in Milltown, and he would buy me Pernod, and he would get me to drink as much Pernod as humanly possible. And I would literally drink it till I threw up. But not having anything else to gauge this all on, or no girlfriends to sort of, you know, I don't know. I mean, I was totally on my own. So this is what I did. October of 1995. I think it was a Sunday, possibly the 18th of October, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I went up to Milltown because I was alone and I wanted to hang out with somebody. And when I went up, there was nobody there. So I went up to Stephen's house, and his elderly parents answered the door. So, oh my God. Even then, I just thought, well, as elderly parents, I'm obviously quite safe. There's no issue. I'll just go in and that's okay. And um, went in, and we all sat in the living room, and Stephen asked me if I wanted a bottle of Pernod and Lime. And I said, well, sure, Now I was 13. I thought, I'm so grown up now. Clearly I can deal with this. So off he went, and that's what he got me. And he came back, and this seemed to become his quest for me. For me to drink this bottle of Pernod, which I did. And I realised the time later on, and I went on my merry way, and staggered down the road. And I remember walking on the white line down the road and being seriously confused about why I could not keep my footsteps on the white line down the road, in the middle of the road. I was completely confused and also slightly amused by this. So anyway, I got down home, and I remember getting home and thinking, oh my God, that was just the craziest thing I've ever done. Like, I couldn't even walk. What is going on? And a few hours later, Stephen appeared at my window. And he said to me, don't say a word. And I was still sort of, obviously in this strange, giddy high thing. And I was like, okay, I'm not saying anything. And off he went. So a few days later, this happened again. Um, this was about a week later. And this was during the day. This was a Sunday. And there was nobody about. And I didn't want to be at home. So I went looking for somebody to hang out with. And when I went up to Milltown, everybody said, Stephen's home, you should go up there. So that's what I did. And his parents were sitting in the living room. And he had a bottle of this waiting for me. And he said, I've got you some Pinot and lime. And I was like, okay. So we were sitting with his parents watching some random shit on TV. And after a while, obviously I was becoming a bit fuzzy. And he took me upstairs into his sister's bedroom. And his sister's bedroom was at the front of the house. And I remember this because the curtains were open. And I remember oh my God. I remember lying down on the bed and him starting to take my jeans off. And I was too fuzzy to try and fight back. And he kept saying, just lie there, or I'm going to hurt you. Just lie there, I'm going to hurt you. And I was so fuzzy and so scared. That's what I did. And he raped me. And then, because I didn't bleed after he raped me, he punched me in the face for not being a virgin. Which I obviously was. I was only 13. He then proceeded to tell me that if I ever told anybody what he did, he would have, he claimed already to have links to the UVF, etc. And he said, if I ever told anybody, he would have somebody petrol bomb my house. So it ended. I didn't say a word. Fast forward 17 years. And in my 30s, I decided I needed to
unburden myself of this. And I phoned my mom and I said, Mom, there's something I really need to tell you that happened when I was 13 years old that I've never been able to tell you. And you'll never believe what she said. She said, don't tell me you've murdered somebody. Oh, sweet Jesus. My world just fell apart. Why would my mother think that? So, after I moved myself together, I was like, no, Mom, are you fucking serious? And I told her that I was raped. And her response to this day absolutely kills me. She was like, Liz, you probably deserved it. You were acting like a stupid teenager. You'd probably deserved it. What the fuck? Seriously? At this point, I'm honestly convinced she would have been more appreciative of the fact that I'd actually murdered somebody. Like, who the fuck says that? I'm sorry, I need to stop this now. I need to stop this. I'll try and record more later.